The night shift at Mercy General always smelled the same: antiseptic overlaying blood, stale coffee, and desperation. I'd grown used to it over my 3 years as an ER nurse, but tonight the copper scent clung stubbornly to my scrubs. Emma, you're up. Curtain 4. Dr. Patel slid a chart across the counter without looking up. My shoulders ached from the double shift. 12 hours stretched into 16. I had rent due in 3 days and barely enough to cover it. What is it? I asked. Male, laceration, possible GSW. He's refusing to see a doctor. Dr. Patel glanced up. Just clean him up and get him out. The curtain in Bay 4 was drawn tight. I knocked twice. Hello, I'm Emma, your nurse. Silence made my skin prickle. I pushed the curtain back and froze. 3 men occupied the space. 2 stood like sentinels in identical black suits despite the summer heat. Hands clasped, eyes hidden behind sunglasses at 2 a.m. The third man sat on the gurney, back straight, one hand pressed against his side where crimson bloomed through an expensive white shirt. I requested a doctor. His voice was low, accented, somewhere between Mediterranean and Middle Eastern, smooth like aged whiskey. "On what you've got tonight," I said, stepping inside. "I assure you, I'm qualified." His eyes lifted to mine, the color of desert sand under moonlight, pale and striking. His face was all angles, jaw clean-shaven, dark hair perfectly styled, handsome in a way that felt dangerous. "Leave us," he said. The suited men exchanged glances. "Sir, we should. Now." They left without argument. "I need to see the wound," I said. He studied me with unsettling intensity. "Your hands are shaking." I curled my fingers. 20-hour shift. Nothing coffee won't fix. "You should take better care of yourself," he said, says the man bleeding on my exam table. The words slipped out. I tensed, but a ghost of a smile touched his lips. He began unbuttoning his shirt one-handed. When he struggled, I stepped forward. "Let me." His hand caught my wrist, fingers circling it completely. The touch was warm, surprisingly gentle. "What's your name?" "Emma Shaw." "Emma Shaw." He tasted the syllables. "You're not afraid. I've treated gang members and drunk businessmen. You're just another patient." He released my wrist. "Then treat me." The wound was clean, for inches along his ribs, deep but manageable. Next to it sat an older bullet wound, pink with healing. "This needs stitches," I said. "What happened?" "Knife." "This will sting." I applied antiseptic. He didn't flinch. "I don't need anesthetic," he said when he saw the syringe. "Then this will hurt." Pain and I are old acquaintances. I began stitching. His eyes never left my face, the intensity making my cheeks warm. "Where did you learn such precise technique?" he asked. "My grandmother was a seamstress. She taught me before I could write, though she never imagined I'd use it like this." A sound rumbled from his chest. Life rarely follows the paths we imagine. 3 years ago, I'd been in medical school, engaged to a surgical resident, with my future planned. Now I was drowning in debt, working doubles in a studio apartment. "No," I agreed softly. "It doesn't." We fell silent as I finished. 17 sutures total. The curtain rustled. A suited man whispered urgently in a foreign language, Arabic, I thought. My patient's expression darkened. "I need to bandage this," I said. "Keep it dry for 48 hours. No strenuous activity. Sutures out in 10 days." He stood, towering over my 5'5". "You'll remove them." "What?" "No, that's not. I don't have a primary care physician." He reached into his pocket, withdrawing a money clip. He peeled off several $100 bills. "Consider it a consultation fee. For your discretion." The implication was clear. No records. No questions. No police reports. I should have protested. Instead, I found myself nodding as he tucked the money into my scrubs pocket. He shrugged into his jacket carefully. "You look exhausted, Emma. Go home. Rest." Before I could respond, he was gone. I finished my shift in a daze. By the time I clocked out at 6 a.m., I'd almost convinced myself I'd imagined the intensity in those sand-colored eyes. I was 2 blocks from home when I noticed the black SUV crawling along the street, windows tinted mirror dark. My pulse quickened. The vehicle kept pace as I walked faster. At my building, The SUV pulled ahead, stopping half a block up. A second identical vehicle appeared behind it. Inside my fourth-floor studio, I locked the door and slid the chain. Through my window, both SUVs remained parked below. The money from my pocket, $2, 500 and hundreds, sat on my coffee table. More than enough for rent. But accepting it felt dangerous, like crossing a line I didn't understand. I dreamed of pale eyes and blood-stained hands. The pounding woke me. Sunlight flooded my window, 4:37 p.m. Miss Shaw. Emma Shaw. A man's voice, deep and unfamiliar. Through the peephole, another suited man. Who are you? Mr. Al-Rashid sent me. He requires your assistance. Al-Rashid. At least I had a name now. I don't know any Mr. Al-Rashid. You treated him last night. The wound on his side. Tell Mr. Al-Rashid to go to the hospital. A pause. He sent a car. You'll be compensated generously. I'm not going anywhere. Something slid under my door. A phone, sleek and expensive. Mr. Al-Rashid would like to speak with you. With trembling fingers, I picked it up. Hello, Emma Shaw. That voice, unmistakable. I find myself in need of your services again. I'm a hospital nurse. I don't make house calls. Yet here we are. Pain threaded his carefully controlled voice. The wound has become infected. Go to the hospital. We both know that's not an option. I glanced at the money on my table. Why me? I trust your hands, Emma. They're steady, even when you're afraid. The way he said it made my skin flush. I could lose my license. No one will know. You'll be helping someone in need. Isn't that what you swore to do? How bad is the infection? Bad enough that my men are concerned. I closed my eyes, knowing I was about to make a terrible decision. I need supplies. Already acquired. The car will take you to and from my residence. You'll be home before midnight. And if I refuse? His voice softened dangerously. Then I'll find another solution. Perhaps from someone at Mercy General who might recognize me from security footage. Dr. Patel, was it? Fine. Give me 15 minutes. A suited man waited in my hallway. In the SUV, someone placed a blindfold over my eyes. What the hell? I jerked back. Security protocol, Miss Shaw. Mr. Al-Rashid's residence location is confidential. This wasn't part of the deal. It's non-negotiable. The drive took 30 minutes of winding turns before smooth asphalt gave way to a private drive. When they removed the blindfold, I blinked at twilight. We were before a mansion that belonged in architectural magazines. Modernist lines, walls of glass, mature landscaping, a fountain burbling in the circular drive. Not gaudy, but the wealth was staggering. Men in suits patrolled with visible weapons. Several nodded as I was led up stone steps into an interior of soaring ceilings and museum-quality art. The master bedroom was larger than my apartment, dominated by an enormous bed with charcoal linens. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked a private lake. And there, propped against pillows, was my patient. He looked worse, skin ashen, hair damp with sweat, those pale eyes fever-bright. A shirtless torso revealed my bandage work, now stained with yellowish discharge. An older man with silver temples stood nearby, speaking rapidly in Arabic. When they saw me, he straightened, appraising my disheveled appearance. You're the nurse. His accent was thicker, tone skeptical. Leave us, my patient said weakly but commandingly. All of you. The older man frowned. Khalid, I don't think. Out. They filed out reluctantly. You should be in a hospital, I said, approaching cautiously. We've established that's not an option. Your wound is severely infected. You might need 4 antibiotics, possibly surgical debridement. Then it's fortunate you have experience with both. I stared. How do you know? He gestured weakly toward a manila folder. Emma Catherine Shaw, 28, former medical student at Johns Hopkins. Dropped out final year following your fiancé's death. Moved to New York, completed nursing program. Currently paying off $137,000 in student debt. Mother deceased, father unknown. Grandmother in assisted living with advancing dementia. You sent her $400 monthly despite barely making rent. Ice flooded my veins. You investigated me. I investigate everyone who comes into my life, however briefly. You had no right. Rights. He echoed with amusement despite his pain. Such an interesting concept. I yanked on gloves with more force than necessary. I need to examine the wound. The sight made me inhale sharply. Neat sutures surrounded by angry red flesh, oozing pus. Heat radiated from the area. This is bad. I probed gently. He flinched, the first real pain reaction. What happened? Did you get it wet? Exert yourself. A slight shrug. Business required attention. Business required. I broke off, incredulous. You're running a fever of at least 102. Whatever business you attended nearly killed you. Dying is an occupational hazard. I pulled out supplies, alcohol swabs, sterile gauze, removal kit. I need to remove these stitches, clean the infection, start antibiotics immediately. Any medication allergies? No, this is going to hurt. His eyes opened, fixing on mine with surprising lucidity. You take pleasure in telling me that. For the next hour, I worked, removing sutures, debriding infected tissue. Khalid remained stoically silent, though sweat beaded his brow. I cleaned thoroughly, packed it with antibiotic-infused gauze, dressed it fresh. I'm not closing it yet. We need to let it drain. I should come back tomorrow. He caught my wrist as I withdrew, grip surprisingly strong. You'll stay. What? No, I have a shift tomorrow. Colin's sick. I can't just. You can and will. His thumb traced my wrist veins. I need you here, Emma. The way he said my name made something flutter in my stomach. I pulled free. You need a doctor. What I need is someone I can trust. His gaze held mine. You've seen my home, my security, my weakness. You're already involved deeper than you know. Are you threatening me? I'm stating facts. He shifted, wincing. There's a guest room prepared. My men will bring anything you require. Medical training ward with self-preservation. He needed monitoring overnight. One night, I conceded, and I'm checking vitals every 2 hours. Relief flickered across his face. Acceptable. I administered 4 antibiotics and a mild sedative. As medication took effect, his eyelids grew heavy. Why did you help me? He asked, voice thick. You could have refused. I considered. The Hippocratic Oath. First, do no harm. Refusing isn't the same as doing harm. It is to me. His lips curved slightly. There's always a choice, Emma Shaw. You're simply living with the consequences of yours. His eyes drifted closed. A soft knock preceded the older man's entrance. He glanced at sleeping Khalid, then at me. How is he? Stable. The infection is severe, but antibiotics should help. He needs rest and monitoring. He studied me. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone harder. He moved closer, lowering his voice. Khalid doesn't usually allow strangers close, especially women. Do you know who he is? What he does? I can guess. No, he said flatly. You can't. I've known Khalid since he was a boy. I watched him build his empire from nothing. I've seen him handle men for less than what he's allowing you, a complete outsider, to witness. My mouth went dry. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand the waters you're swimming in. One wrong move, and you'll drown. I didn't ask to be involved. Yet here you are. He glanced at Khalid, in the heart of a lion's den. At the door, he paused. My name is Omar. If you need anything, tell the men outside. His eyes met mine. Don't try to leave on your own. The security system doesn't distinguish between intruders and those trying to exit. The door clicked like a cell locking. I must have dozed because I jerked awake to find Khalid watching me, eyes glittering in dim light. Outside, the sky was velvet black. You're supposed to be sleeping, I said. So are you. He gestured weakly to the bed. This mattress is large enough for both. Heat rushed to my face. I'm fine here. A ghost smile. You're a terrible liar, Emma Shaw. I straightened. Time for your next antibiotic dose. As I prepare medication, I felt his gaze tracking every movement. You have questions, he observed. I connected the antibiotic to his 4. None I want answered. Ignorance won't protect you. Neither will knowledge. I checked his temperature. 101.2. Better, but concerning. He caught my hand as I withdrew. Ask. I stared at his fingers, strong despite illness, a heavy gold signet ring on his little finger. Dangerous hands. Who are you? His thumb traced circles on my palm, sending unwelcome shivers. You know who I am? I know your name is Khalid al-Rashid. I know you're wealthy. I know you command men. I pull my hand free. I know you're dangerous. Yes. No denial. Simple confirmation. Why me? You must have doctors. There are, but they lack your particular qualities. His gaze drifted over my face. Integrity. Compassion. Beauty. I flushed, turning away to check his bandage. Don't what? Don't try to whatever this is. I'm your nurse, not entertainment. A soft chuckle ended in a wince. You're refreshingly direct. Most people are too afraid to speak to me as you do. They probably have better survival instincts. His laugh was fuller despite pain. Perhaps. Or perhaps they have more to lose. The word struck a chord. What did I have to lose? A cramped apartment, a barely covering Bill's job, a life shrinking since James died. Tell me about your fiancé, Khalid said softly. I stiffened. That's none of your business. I made it my business. James Harrington, 29, fourth-year surgical resident. Killed in a convenience store robbery 3 years ago. You were there. Try to save him despite your own gunshot wound. His eyes flicked to my left shoulder. The police never caught the shooter. Tears burned. Why are you doing this? Because I want to understand you. He shifted. You walked away from everything after his death. What? Because none of it mattered anymore. The words escaped raw and honest. Because I couldn't save him. Because every time I closed my eyes, I saw his blood on my hands. Silence stretched. Yet here you are, he said finally, voice softer, almost gentle. Saving me. Our eyes met, and something passed between us, a current of understanding that made my breath catch. For one suspended moment, he wasn't a dangerous millionaire, and I wasn't his reluctant caretaker. We were two people recognizing something broken in each other, something surviving. The moment shattered with a sharp knock. A man entered, crossing to whisper urgently in Khalid's ear. I couldn't hear the words, but saw the change, a hardening, coldness seeping into those pale eyes. He responded in clipped Arabic. The man nodded and left. Problem? I asked casually. His gaze returned to me, softness replaced by calculation. Nothing that concerns you. But I saw it in his jaw, his shoulders. Whatever news he'd received disturbed him deeply. You should rest, I said, desperate to escape the intensity. Antibiotics work better when the body is relaxed. He settled back against pillows, eyes still on my face. Will you stay? Something vulnerable in the question caught me off guard. I nodded before I could overthink. I'll be right here. As he drifted to sleep, I curled in the oversized chair, watching his chest rise and fall. Outside, men moved across the grounds. More than before. Many more. Something was happening. Something that had Khalid al-Rashid calling reinforcements even as he fought infection. And somehow I knew with bone-deep certainty it had something to do with me. Days blurred. Khalid recovered slowly under my care. He worked from bed, receiving visitors who spoke rapid Arabic. The conversations ceased when I entered. On the third day, Omar found me in the library. There's been a development, he said grimly. A tracking device was found in your medical bag. It was activated shortly after you arrived. They've been monitoring your movements. My legs felt weak. Who? A rival businessman, Victor Hassan. He's been trying to acquire Khalid's shipping empire. When you treated Khalid at the hospital, Hassan saw an opportunity. You represented a way to locate Khalid when he was vulnerable. Oh my God. Khalid is meeting with Hassan tonight, offering terms, a ceasefire, territory agreements, including a provision regarding your safety. That evening, Khalid dressed in an impeccable suit despite his healing wound. What happens now? I asked. Now I ensure your protection. His pale eyes held mine. Victor Hassan will withdraw his interest in you. In return, I've granted certain business concessions, so I can go home. His expression grew guarded. Soon, after we ensure Hassan honors his agreement. Hours later, he returned looking exhausted but satisfied. It's done, he told Omar. Hassan accepted our terms. Relief washed over Omar's features. Khalid's gaze found mine. Your safety, your return to normal life, your continued anonymity. So I can go home? Soon. He moved to the bed, lowering himself carefully. After we ensure Hassan honors his part, I help him remove his jacket and shirt. The bandage beneath was clean, but the wound still inflamed. "You've been pushing too hard," I said, cleaning the area. "I've had worse." His hand came up to brush hair from my face, lingering. "Your concern is touching." I pulled back, applying fresh bandage firmly. "It's professional, not personal." "Are you certain about that?" The question hung between us, loaded with implications I wasn't ready to examine. "You should rest," I said finally. "Will you stay?" He caught my gaze. "Here, with me." The words sent a shiver down my spine. Not of fear, but something more dangerous. "I don't know what you're asking." "I think you do." His gaze held mine. "From the moment you pulled back that curtain, something changed. You felt it too." I shook my head, stepping back. "You're delirious. The fever." "I've never been more clear-headed." He rose, moving toward me with fluid grace despite his injury. "You see me, Emma. Not the power, not the money, not the danger. You see me." He was too close now. Close enough to feel his heat, smell expensive cologne beneath antiseptic. "I don't know you," I whispered. "You know enough." His hand cupped my cheek, gentle despite its strength. "Enough to be afraid. Yet here you stand. Enough to understand what I am. Yet you still treat me with compassion." I should pull away. Instead, I leaned into his touch, my body betraying my mind. "This is insane," I breathed. Stockholm Syndrome at its finest. A smile touched his lips. "Is it your diagnosis, Nurse Shaw?" "It's the only explanation. Or perhaps it's simpler." His thumb traced my lower lip. "Perhaps it's chemistry. The recognition of something in another that resonates with something in yourself. Poetic for a man who commands an army." His smile widened. "We contain multitudes, you and I." Before I could respond, he closed the distance, lips capturing mine in a surprisingly gentle kiss. I should have pushed him away. Instead, my hands gripped his shirt, pulling him closer as something inside surrendered. The kiss deepened, his arms encircling me, drawing me against him. I felt the heat of his skin, the steady beat of his heart. In that moment, he wasn't Khalid al-Rashid, feared millionaire with an empire. He was simply a man holding me like I was precious. When we broke apart, both breathing heavily, I saw vulnerability laid bare in his eyes. "Stay," he whispered against my lips. "Stay with me tonight." And God help me, I did. Dawn broke in amber and rose through the windows. I lay awake, watching light play across Khalid's sleeping form. The strong jaw, dark lashes against his cheeks, the curve of his shoulder. What had I done? The events felt like a fever dream. I slipped from bed carefully, gathering clothes, retreating to the bathroom. The woman in the mirror was a stranger. Flushed cheeks, lips swollen, a small mark at her neck where his mouth had been. When I emerged, Khalid was awake, watching me. "You're thinking too loudly," he said, voice rough with sleep. "Someone should be." I moved to the window, putting distance between us. "Last night was a mistake." "Was it?" He shifted carefully. "It didn't feel like a mistake." I turned to face him. "I'm your nurse. You're my patient. Beyond that, you're—" I gestured, encompassing the mansion, armed men, the world he commanded. "I'm what? A criminal? A monster? Aren't you?" "I'm many things, Emma. Some would frighten you. But last night, I was just a man, and you were just a woman. It's not that simple. It could be." He sat up. "For us." The conviction in his voice sent a dangerous shiver through me. "Hope. Possibility. There is no us, Khalid. They're the nurse who treated a patient. A woman brought to a house against her will. A night that shouldn't have happened." His expression hardened imperceptibly. "Is that what you believe? That you had no choice?" "Didn't I? You sent armed men. You threatened my job, my life. I protected you." The words carried absolute conviction. "From the moment you treated me, you were in danger. Not from me. From those who would use you to get to me. A danger I wouldn't have been in if I'd never met you. Come with me." He rose, pulling on pants and a robe. "There's something you need to see." Against my better judgment, I followed him through the quiet house to an older wing. He stopped before a heavy wooden door carved with a family crest. "My father's study," he said, producing a key. "I've kept it exactly as it was the day he died." The room felt like stepping back in time. Velvet drapes, leather-bound books, a massive desk. On its surface sat a single framed photograph. Khalid handed it to me. A younger version of himself, perhaps 16, stood beside an older man with the same striking eyes. Between them stood a beautiful woman, her hand on young Khalid's shoulder. "My parents," he said simply, 3 months before they were killed. I looked up sharply. "Both of them." He moved to the window. "My father was Rashid al-Rashid. He built our shipping empire from nothing. Made powerful friends, more powerful enemies." His voice took on a distant quality. "When I was 17, those enemies decided he'd become too influential. They waited until we were all at home." Something in his tone made my blood run cold. "What happened?" "They came at night. Professional killers. Shot my father first in the study downstairs. My mother heard the shots, tried to reach him. They killed her on the staircase." I clutched the photograph tighter, looking at the smiling woman who had no idea her life would end so violently. "And you?" "I was in my room. Heard the shots. Had enough time to take my father's gun. When they came for me, I was waiting." A smile touched his lips, devoid of warmth. "I killed 3 before they subdued me. My God, how did you survive?" Omar arrived with our men just as they dragged me out. They intended to make an example of me. He poured amber liquid into 2 glasses, offering one to me. After that night, I made a choice. I would become not just my father's son, but his revenge. I would build an empire so powerful, so untouchable, that no one would ever dare come for me or mine again. I took a sip, whiskey burning down my throat. "And did you?" "Get revenge." It took 3 years to track down everyone responsible. His expression was matter-of-fact. "I made sure they suffered before they died." I should have been horrified. Instead, I found myself asking, did it help? The revenge. Something flickered in his gaze. Surprise, perhaps. No, it didn't bring them back. But it established a truth that has protected me since. No one touches what belongs to Khalid al-Rashid without paying a price too high to contemplate. The implication hung between us, including me. "Why are you telling me this?" He moved closer. "Because I want you to understand what I am. Why I am. The world I inhabit. So I'll what? Accept it? Embrace it. So you'll see me." His voice dropped. "All of me. Not just the parts that frightened you in the hospital. Not just the parts that seduced you last night. The whole truth. And if I can't accept that truth," his expression softened, vulnerability bleeding through, "then you walk away today. Return to your life as if none of this happened." I searched for the trap, the manipulation. Just like that. Just like that. He closed the distance, hands framing my face. "But before you decide, know this. Last night wasn't a mistake. It wasn't Stockholm Syndrome. It wasn't manipulation. It was real. Perhaps the most real thing I've experienced since the night my parents died." His words struck something deep inside me. I had felt it too, the connection that defied logic. The sense that in his arms I'd found something I'd been searching for since James died. "I need time," I whispered. "To think." He nodded, thumbs tracing my cheekbones. "Time you shall have." He pressed a kiss to my forehead. "Omar will take you home whenever you're ready." Back in my apartment, I paced restlessly. Omar had handed me an envelope as I left. Inside was a single sheet in strong, slanting handwriting. "Emma, by now you're home, questioning everything. I won't insult your intelligence by claiming it was all a dream or momentary madness. What happened was real. What I feel for you is real. I am not a good man by society's standards. I have blood on my hands that will never wash clean. I command men who would kill or die at my word. I operate in a world of shadows and violence that few ever glimpse. But with you, I found something I thought lost forever, the capacity to feel something beyond power, beyond vengeance, beyond the cold calculation that has defined my existence since I was 17 years old. You ask for time, and I will give it. A day, a week, a month, however long you need to decide if what we found in each other is worth exploring despite the complications. In the meantime, know this. You are under my protection whether you choose me or not. The men watching your apartment are for your safety, not to monitor your movements. You are free to live your life exactly as you did before we met. With one difference. You now have a choice few are ever offered, to step fully into my world, eyes open, knowing exactly what it entails, or to walk away with a memory of what might have been. Whatever you decide, know that you have awakened something in me I thought died with my parents. For that alone, I will always be in your debt. Until we meet again, Khalid. I read it twice, then moved to the window. Below, a black SUV was parked half a block down. Another at the corner. Watching. Protecting. 3 days ago, the sight would have terrified me. Now it brought a complex mixture of emotions I couldn't untangle. I should call the hospital. Should fall back into comfortable routine. The safe choice. The sane choice. Instead, I found myself reaching for the burner phone, still in my medical bag. It had only one number programmed. My finger hovered over the call button as I weighed two futures. One safe but small, one dangerous but vibrant with possibility. In the end, it wasn't really a choice at all. The phone rang once before he answered. Emma. My name sounded like a prayer and a possession. You've made your decision quickly. I looked at the men guarding my street, at the letter on my table, at the medical bag that had led me into his world, at the life I'd been sleepwalking through since James died. I have questions, I said, voice steadier than I felt. Conditions. A soft chuckle. I would expect nothing less. I won't give up nursing. My career. My independence. I would never ask that of you. I need to know everything. No secrets. No protected ignorance. A pause. That knowledge comes with responsibility. With danger. I know. And you're prepared for that. I thought of the 17-year-old boy who faced killers. Of the man who built an empire from ashes. Of the patient who looked at me with pale eyes and saw something no one else had since James died. Yes, I said simply. I am. The silence stretched between us, laden with meaning. Then come home, Emma. Come home to me. Outside, one of the SUVs pulled away, circling to stop directly in front of my building. The front door buzzed, his men coming to escort me back. It should have felt like surrendering. Instead, it felt like waking up, like stepping out of the gray half-life I'd been living into something vivid and dangerous and real. I'm on my way, I said, and ended the call. As I gathered what I'd need, I caught my reflection, cheeks flushed, eyes bright with something that looked like hope. 3 days ago, I'd bandaged a stranger's wounds. Today, I was choosing to become part of his world. The thought should have terrified me. Instead, it felt like coming home after a very long journey. I took one last look around the apartment that had been my refuge and prison since James died. Then I walked out the door without looking back, toward the men waiting to take me to college, toward a future I could never have imagined, but now couldn't imagine living without. The door closed behind me with a soft click, the ending of one chapter and the beginning of another. As I descended toward the waiting car, I felt lighter than I had in years. She bandaged the Arab millionaire's wounds, and in doing so, perhaps began to heal her own.